This is Rosianna.
Hi, you may have seen me sometime.
Rosianna loves books.
I do.
And I love books, and Rosianna and I used to live together. We have a very good idea of like how the other person organizes their books.
Yes.
And what their shelves look like. But since then, we've both moved to different apartments. You've moved to a different continent.
Slightly bigger move.
So we thought we'd have a little chat about book cataloging. Why, how, when,
Where?
and just some of the preferences we have. And I think it's a really fun discussion to have, and I love talking about it on Twitter. So I want to get you guys involved as well. Where do we start?
I guess why?
Why? Why is the big
one.
question. Well, I know a lot of people just like take their books and sort of like shove them onto shelves and don't really think about I don't really think about how they're organizing it, but I feel like once you've got so many books that you really have like separate shelves and stuff, you sort of have to think a little bit about how you're organizing them and why.
Not to start by being really selfish, but one good way is knowing what you've lent to someone and where it would live. And it's just an easy way to like remember like, oh, I think there's a book there. I think Sana has kept it for 5 months.
Yeah, I would never do such a thing.
Marion still has my Diaries of Sylvia Plath and Anna Karenina, just saying. And then I think another thing is it's just like it's good for you to know what you have and where it is, and so you can quickly reach for something and grab it.
And I think also when you have like quite a lot of books, cataloging it means that you have to go through them and really have to sort of rethink, do I want this book?
I also think there's something about like managing your library in general that makes you think about what your priorities are and what your purpose for like having a book collection is. Is it so that you have something that you can always dip in and out of? Is it so that you have, you know, as many books as you can about space or something like that? Does it say something about yourself? Is it a tracking of a period of time in your life? Is it a collection of books that people have given you or that you've kept for a special purpose? And especially nowadays for me, because I only have, my aim is 50 books, but right now I have about 80 books at home. And it has just made every decision of like what I keep and how I organize it so much more intentional.
And also what's part of the discussion is which books do you keep in your bedroom? Which books do you keep in the living room? Which books are out for guests to see? Which ones do you keep really close to your bed? Then the question is, how?
Yeah.
How do you catalog your library? How do you organize your books?
Guess we'll talk about initially how we do it.
Yeah.
I do it by publisher.
What?
And then alphabetically.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah. That comes from working in a bookshop. I worked in a children's bookshop and all of the children's picture books were organised by publisher. And since then it's just been a really easy way for me to think about it, because then you have an automatic way of like sub-categorising it. Whereas if I categorise it by subject matter, there's always so many crossovers.
And it makes sense also if you're like reviewing books and you're getting sent books from publishers and you're like, this is this corner, this is this corner.
I like doing it. It does unfortunately mean that like sometimes one publisher will just like explode over and then you feel sorry for like, I don't know, the tiny publisher over here who only has one book that I've deemed worthy.
It's not like super duper organized at the moment. I organize my books by color.
It's astonishing.
I know pretty much what colors all the spines are and what color the books are, so I will just be like, oh well, that's a blue book, so it'll be in this section. For me it's a really easy way to remember, and also I just really like the way it looks. I actually own a lot of white books, a lot of blue books, a lot of black books. It's not as much as a rainbow shelf as a lot of people have. I have some yellow, I have some red, but then next to my nightstand I have a pile of books I sort of want to read, to sort of keep them in mind. And in my room I have a small shelf that's a mess at the moment, which is like a constant in and out of like books that have just come in, and sometimes I put some in the living room and I'm like, oh, I don't have time to read them right now.
The chaos shelf.
Yeah, that's the chaos shelf basically.
Okay, so the books I'm currently reading are all stacked up by my bed because I don't have a bedside table. I used to organise by colour when I had like 2,000 books or something. It was ridiculous. Like we lived together when I reduced it to 1,500, and I organised by colour then, and a lot of that again was also like from the bookshop. It was really easy for me to remember the spine, but I did find that after a while it meant that like books felt a bit more physical piles of things. Yeah. And it kind of, I think, psychologically overwhelmed me a little bit too much. But yeah, no, I think it's a way to do it. Other ways are like alphabetical. Yeah, alphabetical.
By theme. Yeah. Like I can imagine if you have like a YA shelf and a classic shelf. A lot of books come in series, obviously. Yeah. So I can imagine that even if you do things alphabetically, you might want to put like all your cloth-bound classics together. Because even though I do stuff by color, if I have a trilogy, I'll put the trilogy together.
Right.
I guess a lot of people might organize them by like read and not read. I've heard a lot of people do that.
Hardbacks and paperbacks.
Yeah.
As well.
Size. You can do size. I would really like to have a little like feminism cubby hole.
Yeah.
Where I can just put all of those together and like see my collection of those. But it wouldn't really work for everything.
Yeah.
I think it'd be quite nice to do.
Topics that you talk about a lot, or topics that you want to like visit and kind of spotlight.
And like reach for and...
Yeah.
Important question.
Yes.
How do you keep your collection under control?
Well, you have to, for me, I set myself a number and I allow myself it's like when you have an expiry date on food and you allow yourself a certain number of days after that expiry date.
Yeah.
That's how I have a number of 50, and the maximum at any one time is 100.
Okay.
And then if I fluctuate over that, some
You have to get rid of
hard
stuff.
decisions have to be made.
Yeah.
What about you?
I think I get about 5 books in a month, and so I try and keep things rotating, and so I try and bring a couple of tote bags, or like 2 tote bags every 2 or 3 months to the charity shop. And I do try and go through it regularly, because every time I see it, there's stuff where I'm like, oh, I decided to keep it last time, but like I probably should get rid of it. But it gets harder over time as I like collect more books that I really, really want to read that are still more recent.
Yeah.
You don't really want to get rid of those. I do get a lot of books sent unsolicited, which I try and avoid as much as possible.
I don't think there's anything wrong with keeping and maintaining a big book collection, as long as, and this is why cataloguing is helpful, you know what's in there, and it's not just this huge thing that you don't want to face and don't want to deal with and sort through. And then one way that you could get help on that is use one of those apps, like you can use the one that should not be named, Goodreads, or one of these other book apps to catalogue and know what's in there.
I have most of my books catalogued on Goodreads. I have to do like a big reshuffle because I've obviously given away lots of books.
Yeah.
That I have a like books I own shelf, which is quite a good one because sometimes the books I've read, it doesn't quite match up. So having that I find really useful. Every time I do a book haul, I have to look up the Goodreads links anyway, and that's when I go in and be like, I own this, I own this, I own this. It's a nice way for people as well to check if I have a book. So like for birthdays and stuff, people can be like, oh, she read this.
The ones with the ISBN scanners, there are a few apps, including Goodreads, that have the ISBN scanner where you can just be like, zing.
Zing.
Add to my shelf.
I think the next time I do like a big reshuffle and get rid of loads of books, after that I might actually...
A cabinet reshuffle.
After that I'll go through and like see how accurate my Goodreads collection is. Gonna be so much work.
Take a week off work and just do that.
What about book borrowing and book plates?
So I think that I'm big on lending out books to people, or giving books to people. If you want a book back, you should keep track of roughly, if you have a good memory, roughly when you lent it. And also kind of make it clear that you want it back if you want it back as well. Be like, you can keep it for as long as you want, but I would love that one back. I always think it's important and fun to do a book plate or your name in the book, because it's an easy way to keep track. I have found books in my homes over the years where I'm like, who lent this to me?
Yeah.
And then you have to ask everyone, and it's really embarrassing because you're like, I've had this book for ages that I've forgotten about.
Yeah.
And yeah, book plates are a really fun way to do it. You can either get some already like in a shop, you can print some out on sticker paper, you can make your own in some other way. My current book plates have all of my names on them, which is really fun.
That's
Someone
nice.
gave that to me for Christmas.
So do you put them in all of your books?
I put them in the most selected books, but I don't put them in Harry Potter.
Okay.
That's like the one.
Harry Potter is special.
I like can't bring myself to for some reason. It's like it's just like writing on your skin with a permanent pen.
Oh wow.
That's what it's like.
If anyone wants to borrow a book, I'm happy to lend them out, but I mostly lend them out to friends who know that I take care of my books a lot. If it's a new book and the spine hasn't been cracked, I will say, please don't crack the spine.
You mean you didn't do this?
And so, oh no. If I've already read it, then I feel like usually it's worn a little bit, so that's fine, then people can just borrow it and I won't give them any special instructions. Oh god. But if it's a brand new book and someone really wants to borrow it, I'll only like let close friends borrow it, and I will tell, like they'll know. I'll give them a linen bag with it. Whenever I want to give books to the charity shop as well, I'll take a picture of all the books, send it around to my friends and go, anyone want any of these before they go away? In the Netherlands, one of my friends who usually only read during holidays would come by my house for like Sana's library and just like come and pick 4 or 5 books, and then she would just return them immediately after her holiday, which is quite a good system.
So many of my friends, Emily has done that with me many times over the years, like, what should I read? And I'd be like,
Yeah. I would absolutely love to see how you catalog your library. So I will have inserted in this video a couple of shots of my library, and I'm going to ask Rosianna to send me some shots. If you want to share your shelves as well, if you ever take a shelfie and put it on Instagram, please do tag me, and then I can take a look. It'd be really fun.
Me too.
If you want to subscribe to Rosianna's channel, her channel is youtube.com/Rosianna. I'm going to put the video you did about downsizing your book, your book collection,
Sure.
in the description. That's it for now, and I'll talk to you guys later. Doei!